I'm standing on the historic grounds of the LDS temple, the Vernal temple. It originally was a tabernacle. As a child, from age 5 through age 11, I lived catty-corner across the street in an old home that my parents owned. And here we attended conferences and other activities that one ordinarily would do in a tabernacle. In those days, conference was held both morning and afternoon, and invariably there'd be fewer people show up for the afternoon session than the morning session. And invariably some speaker would remonstrate us for not being sufficiently faithful for the afternoon session. So that's basically how things unfolded in this tabernacle. It's absolutely a magnificent structure, was on the inside, with balconies surrounding 3 of the 4 sides, giving a magnificent view of the pulpit and the podium, which were really quite raised. Offered opportunities also for choral and orchestral groups to perform. Acoustics were wonderful. This building in 1997 was gutted, refurbished, and made into a marvelous temple of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And as much of the original exterior architecture as possible was kept intact. The bricks that you are seeing through this video were handmade here in Vernal. And one of the particular interests for me is that my great-grandfather and grandfather, James Barnum Henry and Albert Monroe Henry, spent quite a lot of time with their freighting wagons, because they had a freighting business, quite a long time freighting the bricks from the east part of this valley up here for purposes of construction. So that's how they made their contribution. The building was begun in 1907 and dedicated, as I recall, in 1912 when it was finished. Joseph F. Smith came as a visiting authority, taking the train down from Salt Lake to Durango, Colorado, and then from there up here by stage. It was a pretty Spartan grounds from the pictures that I have seen, and for that dedication there were horses and buggies and women in their long dresses and men in the best attire they could muster gathered for the dedication of this tabernacle, now the Vernal Temple of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. The temple now and the tabernacle then became the spiritual focal point, as far as buildings were concerned, for members of the LDS Church. And of course today it becomes a hallowed sanctuary for those members. I personally am grateful to the church's efforts in these days to salvage, save, and restore many of its older buildings, particularly since the time of President Gordon B. Hinckley. Unfortunately, there are some wonderfully beautiful buildings that were raised before his sojourn as a president of the church. Since then, we have a number of these gorgeous buildings that harken back to pioneer times and cause us to reflect for some time about not only the privations and the hard work and the stamina of those who worked to build these buildings in the first place, but for what the buildings meant in their lives, in the spiritual sustenance that they so sought.